The UN General Assembly Friday passed a resolution accepting Palestine as its 194th member. This follows a Security Council veto by the U.S. last month on the same question. Palestine has been a non-voting observer in the body since 2012. The new resolution would grant it, quote, new rights and privileges, closed quote, as well as full membership if it's approved by the Security Council. The General Assembly vote was 143 in favor, 9 against, and 25 abstentions. The U.S. Deputy Ambassador Robert Wood said Washington is opposed to the resolution and indicated it would veto Palestinian membership again at the Council. The resolution Friday included an expression of, quote, deep regret and concern, close quote, by the General Assembly about the U.S. veto last month. Friday's resolution included the General Assembly's, quote, unwavering support for the two-state solution of Israel and Palestine, living side by side in peace and security within recognized borders based on the pre-1967 borders, closed quote. Israel's ambassador Gilad Erdan accused the General Assembly of, quote, shredding the UN Charter with this vote, closed quote. He proceeded to feed a copy of the document through a paper shredder that he had brought to the podium. Meanwhile, Israeli tanks, which entered the city of Rafah in southern Gaza earlier this week, moved to secure the city. Rafah currently holds some 1.4 million Palestinian refugees displaced from other parts of Gaza as a result of Israeli airstrikes and ground attacks since October 7th. The UN had warned that an Israeli invasion would be a catastrophe for civilians. President Biden had threatened to stop deliveries of what he termed offensive weapons to Israel in the event of a full-scale invasion of the city. However, the invasion does not seem to have stalled for a lack of ammunition. For more on all of that, we go to Pittsburgh to speak with law professor and author Dan Kovalik, who has visited Palestine over the last months. Dan, what's your read of things as they are today?
Right. So right now, the Israelis are aggressively attacking Rafah. They have taken over what is known as the Philadelphia corridor of Rafah, which is on the border with Egypt. And in fact, they've taken over the Palestinian side of the border, preventing any aid from coming in and preventing any people from going out. This is, by the way, a violation of the Camp David agreements, which ended in a peace deal between Egypt and Israel. This is a violation of the peace deal. Egypt could even declare war on Israel for taking over this corridor. But in any case, my contacts in Gaza are saying there is no food or water coming in. They can't leave. I know some people even who have been cleared to leave because of medical issues that require them to get medical treatment outside of Gaza. They can't leave. And Israel is aggressively bombing the area. We have no idea how many people are dying because all of the healthcare institutions have been destroyed. And that's, of course, who counts the dead and the wounded, etc. But it's clearly in the hundreds and quickly will be in the thousands. Meanwhile, there's 600,000 children in Rafah who are experiencing famine conditions. They've already been weakened greatly by 7 months of war, 7 months of a siege that has prevented them from getting food and water and medicine and treatment. It's a humanitarian disaster that's happening really before our eyes.
You know, even the aid workers are getting killed.
Yes, I mean, Israel has no limits. It has no limits. Everyone in their path is being killed. And of course, there's cases of doctors that have been arrested. These are world-class surgeons been arrested and tortured to death by Israel. This is a mass slaughter, and it's unconscionable. That the world has not stepped in to stop this is really unforgivable.
How you would solve this problem is mystifying to me because um, there's no Palestinian state recognized by any of the parties involved. And even the attempt to so there's no one who actually can claim that they represent the Palestinian people according to the norms of diplomacy, that this is a government that's recognized as the legal government of this nation state, and consequently they are a proper party to peace negotiations regarding hostilities between that nation state and some other nation states. Instead, you have the U.S. wants to argue in favor of the Palestinians. They want to negotiate for them because they're such an honest, fair brokers. The Israelis will even want to do that, or they want to. They have already chosen many of the members of Palestinian Authority over the last years. And this war, the genesis of this particular aspect of the war, is the 2006 election of Hamas, which Israel refused to accept, as if Israel was a stakeholder in the Palestinian state. So you have this resolution today where 143 out of 193 nations say we want to recognize Palestine as a state and give it the rights of membership that are afforded other states. 9 countries voted against it in the General Assembly. Like 25 or so abstained. I'm assuming that was Europe. I didn't look. And yet it's not going to move forward because Robert Wood assured pretty much that he's going to veto it again, like he did last month when he gets to the Security Council. So who in the hell can negotiate on behalf of the Palestinian people?
Well, the truth is, whether Israel recognizes them officially or not, Israel has been and continues to negotiate with Hamas. When they sit down in Cairo, that's who they negotiate with. So Hamas is at least the de facto government of Gaza, and Israel recognizes it as such because it's negotiating with it. So that is who they need to deal with. They know that. They are doing that. And they should be negotiating a ceasefire. They should have taken the deal Hamas accepted at the beginning of the week. And instead, Hamas accepts a deal, and Israel's immediate response is to bomb Rafah on an aggressive basis.
Right. This is right after Biden tells them not to do it. And as if that there was going to be some penalty involved. I don't know that it hasn't reached that level yet. I'm willing to bet, whoever wants to bet whatever, that Israel, if they run through this whole operation to its end in Rafah, is not going to stop because they ran out of ammunition.
No, exactly. Now, the latest I saw was that Biden has said if they engage in a ground offensive against Rafah, that the U.S. would cut off military supplies to Israel. Now, that is a sea change that he would say that, and that's good. That's positive, and he's obviously doing it in response to the protests, the mass protests in the United States. At the same time, of course, the problem is Israel's already pummeling Rafah, whether, by the air, right? And cutting off all supplies and cutting off all access to leave Rafah. So the results are going to be terrible, even if they don't engage in the ground invasion. And even if they do engage in the ground invasion, the U.S. has already sent them so many supplies.
Right.
Up till now.
Right.
Including that emergency authorization for, what was it, $14 billion?
Yeah. 14.
That they're going to have enough supplies to carry that out. So I think it's important that Biden said that, and I think it should be counted as a victory for those protesting. And I think we need to, to count our victories, right? That's important. But I'm not sure it's going to change the course of the war, because this should have happened a long time ago. This may be, in fact, too little, too late. And Biden, I'm sure, knows that.
Yep. Dan, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
For KPFK, I'm Don DeBar.